Okay, let's see how this guy does. Hey, buddy. Oh, we got him up the beat here. Right him. We just gotta keep hitting him now. Why not? We'll drain him again. Do him with another medium, why not? He's dead, it doesn't matter. Or unstoppable Reaver, not immortal. I guess if he could actually play would be good. Nope. Nope. He's not allowed to play. Alright, you tanky ass golem. Let's go. He's just sitting in his face the whole time. You can't do anything. Oh my God. Oh, that's one way to do it. Elganon, let's see what you got, buddy.
Your recalcitrance has doomed every pathetic creature in existence.
Yeah, did they? Did they, guy? You gonna attack me? We're just gonna stand in his face. We're not moving. I ain't moving from this spot. Make me. Make me move. Make me move. I ain't moving.
There is no light save my glory. No refuge save my shadow. No desire save my perfected intention.
Oh Jesus!
I am creator.
It's like I'm cheating and he's just. Oh yeah. I am Elganon. Let's stand in his fire. Let's stand in his fire. Who cares? What's he gonna do? And he's done. Let's go. Yes. Hey YouTube, I'm just Anthony. Welcome back to another Dragon Age Veilguard build guide. We went back to the Mage, and this time I wanted to make a Mage that uses the necrosis abilities. Some way, in some form, I wanted to make it work. And the final result, as you saw with the gameplay, is better than I could expected. We made a Necrolord is what I'm calling it, and it is immortal. And I mean, not just in the sense that we are going to be ability spamming late game, so we're invulnerable while we're ability spamming, but even if we do get hit, even if we go down to almost no HP, we're going to just instantly heal all the health we had lost back instantaneously. And so we're immortal. and I want to dive into that. The two companions that we're using right here on the screen, you could already see, are going to be Harding and Emmerich. And for those that have watched my other videos, we're not using Emmerich for what you think we're using him for. Quietus isn't exactly doing the same effect that it was before on Emmerich, which is really nice that we're changing his purpose up just a tad bit. But anyways, let's dive into the skill tree and then to the equipment and into the companions like normal. All right, here we go. All right, so this is our skill tree. We are a Death Caller for our specialization because you cannot be a Necrolord unless we go Death Caller. It's just what it is. That's how the class fantasy is. We're going to dive right on into this. I will say we are grabbing every ability on the tree, so we get that 15% ability damage. Every ability. Do not sleep on this. It's very good for almost any build because it's a lot of bonus ability damage. We are going right here and getting this plus 50 maximum mana as well. And that's because we are mana stacking, but we are not using mana. We are hurting ourselves to cast all of our abilities. All of our mana is reserved to stay at 100%. The reason that is down here. We have apply 15% of your current mana as bonus damage for blast abilities. Both of our abilities that we're spamming in tandem are both blast abilities. We have duration abilities deal 25% more damage to enemies on low health. That is our Spirit Bomb in the Death Caller tree. And then right up here, we have defeating an enemy with a blast ability grants resistant. Both of our main abilities that we're spamming are both blast abilities. So hopefully these will get the final kill on an enemy mob. We gain resistance when we do that. Successful light attacks generate an additional 25% mana. This value is doubled against enemies suffering from affliction. Great for leveling. So is extra mana nodes. A lot of these nodes are great for leveling. We have Meteor, of course, as one of our primary abilities. Critical damage, affliction damage, +1 arcane bombs. Good for leveling. We're not doing anything with this later in the game. We have final attacks are critical against enemies with low HP. We have final attack damage. We have one of my favorites, Spirit Blade. This is not used at all at the later part of the build. You could take this off and put this point somewhere else, but this is so good for leveling. Spirit Blade makes it where after you stack up your arcane bombs on the target, you can then throw your blade. It'll spin, detonate those arcane bombs, come back to you, and it'll do damage the whole way through the enemies. It's fantastic for staying at a mid-range playstyle with your orb and your dagger while you're leveling and playing through Nightmare. That way you don't have to get right up on a target to hit them with your Spirit Blade to detonate the arcane bombs. Very good. Do not sleep on it. It's great for leveling. And of course, Storm Surge for more ability power. Let's work our way back up here. We have deal 5% bonus damage for each unique primer and affliction on your target. Fantastic. We are putting multiple afflictions and of course primers for our detonation combo. We have right up here necrotic damage. We have executing a detonation on enemy grants shocking weapons. We are detonating with Harding. We do have a detonator companion. We have damager's barrier. We have hitting multiple enemies with a single area ability deals 10% more damage for each enemy hit. Both our corrupted ground and our meteor are area abilities. We have the radius of area abilities is increased by 50%. And we have effects of duration abilities are increased by 50%. This mostly goes with the corrupted ground. Let's move right on into Death Caller before we work our way up the tree. Death Caller's ultimate is so nice. I use this as a get out of jail when things are looking bad, a bad situation, and you just need to heal all the way back up. You pop the Death Caller, heal all the way back up, do a bunch of damage to everything around you. It's nice. It kind of resets the fight if it's going in a bad direction. We have Spirit Bomb, one of the other abilities we're going to be spamming with Meteor back and forth. It is a duration blast ability. It also applies Siphoned, which is very important. That is life steal. We have area abilities now deal necrotic damage, and corrupted ground now deals increased damage when activated. Our meteor is an area ability, so now our meteor is necrotic damage. So by us doing extra bonus necrotic damage on everything, it's going to enhance our meteor. But the meteor still applies burning, which is nice because then we still get burning dots. We have maximum mana plus 50, again, more mana. And then this one's cool because it's working its way with our build. Abilities cost an additional 50 mana, but gain 50% penetration. This is fantastic since Darkspawn are really resistant to necrotic damage, and we need to do everything we can to bump those resistances down because those guys are just absolute tanks. I feel like they did not think it very well through that necrotic damage suffers a little bit against Darkspawn, but we make it happen. It doesn't matter. We tear apart Darkspawn, and just because they can't kill us either is amazing. We have necrotic damage again. We have health plus 100, health leech plus 50%. This is very big, the health leech. And then gain bonus damage relative to the amount of health your target and you have lost. This is great because there's going to be several times that we're going to dip all the way down to low HP. We're going to cast one ability, get all of our entire HP pull back, but that ability is going to be enhanced because we lost all of our health. It's going to be a big hit when we do that. So killing ourselves is fantastic with this desperation. Let's work our way up here. We have each active advantage increases your damage dealt by 10%. Always good, always good. It's free damage every time we get a buff. We have health, ability power, takedown. Whenever you take damage, you regenerate some mana. That's not bad. We have the radius of variability effects is increased by 50%. This is, again, we already had one of these. So these are stacking. We have 100% increased on our corrupted ground and our meteor. Coming down here, we have hitting 3 or more enemies with an area ability grants enhanced damage. That's just another buff, another effect. Great for leveling as well when you're still doing your attacks and using your orb and your dagger. Coming down here, some resistance, some ability power, performing takedown, chilled, ability power. These are just pathing. Resistances. This one's nice too. You gain 10% resistance to the damage type of each mapped ability. That's pretty cool. You have staff energy, and then we have more ability power. So that is our skill tree in a nutshell. Don't forget, it's really nice that we took all those mana nodes, and it's fun that we increased the cost of our abilities. We're going to actually increase the cost of our abilities even more with our gear, and we're going to hurt ourselves a lot. Let's jump over to the equipment. All right, going through the equipment, let's get this started. Going through the orbs. This is the orb I'm choosing to use in the late game with this build. It's 15% damage versus health and plus 25% healing. Now, you're going to be using whatever orb during the game to level that the enemy is not resistant to. So switch to your arcane, switch to your lightning, switch to your fire. Whatever the enemy is going to take the most damage from, switch to that orb. That just makes sense until you get to the late game and you can do this build. Then we have our Enchanted Athame. This is going to be our Spellblade. This is very important to the build. We have plus 50 maximum mana. That's okay. The gain 2 mana on hit, not a big deal. 10% more damage for every 50 mana that you are missing. Again, not a big deal. It's the final modifier. The modifier that on my other mage build I said was going to break the build. This time it actually enhances our build. Abilities now cost plus 50 mana and deal 100% bonus damage. Now, you saw in the Deathcaller tree, our abilities also cost 50 more mana and gain 50% penetration. So our abilities now cost 100 more mana. Every single one of our abilities already cost 100 mana. So every single one of our abilities right now that we're spamming costs 200 mana. 200. We're going to go right down here to the bargain. This is what's letting us spam our abilities without mana. We gain 400 HP, we lose 50 maximum mana, but using an ability spends health instead of mana at 250% of the cost. Every time we use an ability, we're hitting ourselves for 500 damage. 500 damage. We have almost 4,000 life, but that is still a lot of damage. We have to make sure we can sustain that, which we absolutely have enough life still to sustain that. You get the bargain from the Mournwatch vendor, the primary faction vendor. I do believe you have to be shop level 4, if I'm not mistaken. You can pour most of your early game resources into Mournwatch if you want to get this rushed, but normally you're probably not going to have this build online until, 40 anyways or so. So you can just probably already be that faction strength by that time to buy the bargain, but that's very easy to get. You don't have to fight any type of boss. Then we have Death Rattle. I did not think I was going to be able to make a build around this helmet. The first time I saw it, I was like, this helmet's not very good. And then now that I've made this build and I ran across this helmet with the necklace with Harding combination, I'll show you what I mean by that in a sec. It becomes god tier for this build. We have gain precision when we reach low health. So when we hurt ourselves or enemy hits us, whatever the case may be, we get low health. And it says precision hits now leech 100% while you have low health. Precision, by the way, just makes it where your next charge or final attack on an enemy will be critical. Now that's attack. That's not your abilities, right? That's an attack. And your attacks aren't all that big, right? They're not doing 5,000 damage or anything like that. But if we use the precision necklace, where it says the bottom line, it says precision can now be triggered by ability damage, which guarantees the ability is going to critically strike, but that's not what we're using it for. That means when we reach low health and get precision, or when Harding gives us precision, because Harding is giving us precision, the next ability we cast, we're going to heal for 100% of their damage. So if our meteor is the next ability we cast and it hits for 5,000, 6,000, whatever it's going to hit for, we heal for 100% of that. We only have 4,000 HP. So the next ability that we cast after we gain precision, we heal for 100%. It's insane. That's going to instantly give us our entire health bar back to reset and keep fighting in the fight. It's awesome. And then we have Researcher's Coat. This makes it where we do 20% damage, more damage while at low life. So when we get all the way down to low, we're going to do even more damage. This is also nice because on the Death Caller skill tree, you saw that we do more damage when we get low health as well. So every time we do dip to super low HP and we're about to use our next ability, that ability is going to get hit harder. So it's going to heal us for even more. It's going to make sure we're back to full HP. We have leech 5% of your damage as health. We're critting on all of our abilities. So this is just a constant leech. Harding is also putting bleed on the target. So it says leech effectiveness is tripled versus bleeding enemies. And Harding's doing that for us. So we're having 15% of all the damage we deal leached back to us because Harding's doing us a favor in leeching. Harding's detonating with us. Harding's putting a leech buff for us on us. She's putting stacks of bleed. And Harding's giving us precision. Harding is just carrying a lot of this late game build as far as the synergy. Going down here, we have the legendary grenade belt, the Deathworn Wraps. This is going to give us siphon duration, and it's going to give us plus 30% leech during siphoned. Siphoned is put on from our Spirit Bomb. So when we do this and we hit a bunch of guys with Spirit Bomb, even if we activate it early to get that explosion damage, it then puts siphoned on all the targets. Siphoned is a dot over time that heals us over time. So we're going to constantly have siphoned on all the targets that we're hitting, and that's going to constantly heal us as well to again go back into our immortality. We already covered our necklace. Let's go into the first wing. We have the Precious Decay, necrotic damage, resistance, necrotic ability damage versus health, which health is or necrotic damage is great versus health to begin with. And then we have 50% of all your other damage type bonuses contribute to your necrotic damage. All of our damage is necrotic damage. And then, of course, you probably already saw it. We got the Maul of the Black City. This isn't a lot of builds just because it's very strong. Your ability damage is always critical hit, but using an ability consumes 20% of your maximum health as physical damage. We can negate this both with defense and physical resistances to reduce that 20%. But I actually put this on at the end, closer to the end of our build, because I wasn't hurting myself enough. I said, wait a minute. Why can't I just hurt myself even more so I can do more damage? So every time we cast an ability, we're not only doing 500 HP damage, we're also doing 20% of our maximum health as physical damage. This is probably reduced heavily due to our defense being at 186, and then we have physical resistances of 13%. It's being reduced by a little bit, but I wouldn't say it's being reduced by lower than 10% probably. So we're doing 10% of our total HP plus 500 HP every time we cast an ability, and we cannot die. Our leech and our sustain is still too good. Moving over to the dagger, We have Escalate. This gives us ability damage. And then the next ability we use is Greatly Enhanced. I usually use this on the opener after I'm ready to go with Harding. And then I use it when Meteor is my next ability that I'm going to cast. So it's a big Meteor. It'll chunk for 8,000, reaching up even more than that if the target's not resistant to necrosis. So you're almost getting those max damage meteors when you activate your Escalate. Moving on over here, we have Consume. 50 more mana, still mana stacking. I like it. I'm going to keep going. And this is going to get you through the game and later in the game. Of course, when you're leveling, we're stacking mana early in the game so we can actually use mana during the leveling process. And then we have Scourge right down here. Plus 10% necrotic damage for a passive. Of course, just goes with the build. So those are the items. Let's move right on over to the companions, which are very important as well. Alrighty, companions. We're going to start off with the Marshmallow Dwarf herself, Miss Harding. Harding is assisting us with Shred. It's going to be the ability we're going to be spamming. Shred is also going to be our applying for Sunder. We're going to detonate Sunder with either our Meteor or our Spirit Bomb. Both of those detonate Sunder. But first, we want to be able to make Harding crit. Because right up here, it says on critical hit, this ability's cooldown duration is reduced by 50%. Her crit condition as the target is weakened. Our corrupted ground puts weakened on the target. So before you use Shred, you're going to shoot out your corrupted ground. The corrupted ground's going to start, its process of ticking, doing necrosis stacking, and then you're going to shoot the Shred at the target. So she crits automatically, and she gets that reset, that 50% reset. It's going to be bonus damage versus armor. When Shred hits an enemy, you gain precision. And remember, because of our necklace and helmet combination, we're now going to then consume that precision to heal for 100% of the next ability we use. So every time we combo with Harding and we Shred, we detonate, the next ability, whether it's Meteor, Spirit Bomb, whatever, is going to heal us for 100% of that ability damage. And she's going to be casting this less than every 20 seconds. It's like every 15 or 16 seconds. It's very quick. And then we have Sundered Effectiveness. And the reason I say that, by the way, is because we made her embrace the calmness, the heart of the Titan, the calmness. It's giving everybody 15% cooldown reduction. So it's pretty nice. She can also cast Shred automatically every 60 seconds. And then, of course, critical damage is even higher. Fantastic ability. So it's how we're detonating, it's how we're applying precision, and it's how we're applying bleed, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that's on her gear. Let me go back and check right here. Harding's abilities also apply bleeding. Harding deals plus 50% damage versus bleeding enemies. So when we tell her to shoot and shred the target, she's now putting bleed on the target for us. Fantastic. And because she puts bleed on the target, that makes our researcher's coat have triple the amount of leech, the life steal. It goes from 5% to 15% because Harding is putting bleeding. She is just great for this build and the synergy of the build. Her chest piece doesn't really matter too much. And then, of course, we just gave it extra potions for me. Moving on over to Emmerich. Now, Emmerich, you might be thinking, okay, he did Quietus again. He's trying to get the mana over time, but we're not using mana. So yes, during the leveling process of the game, when you're using Harding and Emmerich, I am using Quietus to regain my mana to level and play the game through the first time, because Emmerich's awesome like that. But late game, we're changing him a little bit. So we have the staff right here. Attack my target, applies vulnerability to necrotic damage. Fantastic, especially against Darkspawn. Like I said, they have a lot of necrotic resistance. So we're using him to get necrotic vulnerability. We have your critical ability hits leech a portion of damage. All of our abilities are critting. So because Emmerich's on our team, our ability criticals are leeching a portion of that damage. Now it says portion. I don't know what portion means, but I can tell you right now that I stay at 100% HP as long as I'm spamming abilities. I cannot die, even with us hurting ourselves in two different ways. And I know this applies a big part of it because when I take this off, I actually do start dipping HP slowly, faster and faster. So this critical ability hits leech portion. is big. You only need the first one. You do not need this fully upgraded. So they heal an additional 10% of your maximum health when you critical ability hits defeat an enemy. That's cool and all. It has to defeat an enemy. 10% of your max health. That's cool, but you're mainly doing it for the first modifier. Detonating a sundered enemy applies Quietist. We are detonating sundered enemies. And then we have right here, applying Weakened also applies vulnerability to necrotic damage. We are applying Weakened. Both Emmerich auto casts his ability to apply Weakened, his Entangling, and then of course we cast Weakened. And then it says necrotic resistance reduction is doubled versus demons and undead. Very useful, very helpful to just take out demons and undead quicker. Going into his skill tree, we did turn him into a lich because it's so cool turning into a lich. I'm sorry, Manfred. I just don't like saving you because I like lichdom way more. We get some affliction damage, and all of Emmerich's abilities apply necrosis. Coming down here to the bell tolls, we are still using the bell tolls. We are still using Quietus, but late game, we're not using Quietus to give us 5 mana every second. The reason we're using it late game is Quietus also reduces the target's resistance to necrotic damage by 25%. It's another necrotic debuff modifier, and we are all necrotic damage. We need to try to do as much damage as we can, especially against the annoying darkspawn that think they're so cool with their necrotic resistances. We're going to say, hey, get that out of here. You're still going to die, all right? And then, of course, Quiet is damage and initial damage dealt plus 50%. So those are the 2 companions I chose to use. During, of course, the leveling process, use whatever companions fit for you. While you're doing companion missions, you can choose to use Harding or Emmerich. It doesn't matter. Playing the game to get to the end game with Nightmare, of course, is part of the adventure. All right, let's get to wrapping this up and showing you the combination. Alrighty guys, so like you also saw in the gameplay, I do have my companion abilities hotkeyed. I don't like using the pause menu right here because I feel like it slows down the game. I would encourage anybody that's playing the game to start trying to get used to or comfortable using hotkeys so you can actually use your companion abilities a lot quicker to speed up the game. It's not necessary though. I will say that using this menu right here and physically targeting the mob you want to hit does make it a lot easier to not miss. I do miss abilities, but with this build, it doesn't matter if you miss. We have all AoE. All 3 of our abilities are just AoE abilities. It doesn't matter if we miss. That's what the great part is. So just go over the opener real quick. The first time, right when you run into a pack of mobs, we're going to instantly throw out a corrupted ground to get a weakened. This is going to apply weakened to all the enemies hit in that area with corrupted ground. And then after that, you're going to follow up with shred. So shred's going to then automatically crit on an enemy, and it's going to apply sunder with Harding. Then you can either use your spirit bomb or your meteor to detonate the shred. Now, don't forget, when she does this and it crits, it's going to give her cooldown reduction by 50%, and it's going to apply precision. So it's going to apply precision to you. That means after she hits with shred, both of these, whichever ability you use, is going to give you 100% life back. What I like to do a lot of times is open with corrupted ground into a spirit bomb and then shred. And then the precision hit is going to be a meteor. Is going to be your next ability usage, is going to be the precision meteor hit. While you're doing that, I will then just auto cast the bell tolls on the main target you're fighting with Emmerich. Again, I'm hotkeyed, so I do this all within like 1 second. This is all 1 second, really quick. You're just doing everything. And this is going to reduce the necrotic resistance of that target. After both their abilities are used, you can then go up here and say attack my target. So Harding and Emmerich will then attack the target while they're on cooldown. You're using that mostly for Emmerich. That way he can actually, again, put a necrotic vulnerability on the target. So Bell Tolls is going to just reduce their resistances by 25% with Quietus. And then Attacking with Emmerich is going to reduce it even more with the actual vulnerability debuff, so they're double debuff. If you look down here at the bottom, all my abilities have 4 mana bubbles because they all cost 200 mana. I still think that's very funny. That does that. I never thought we would have that as a thing, and it doesn't matter because we're just hitting ourselves for like 1,000 damage or 800 damage. I don't even know. We're hitting ourselves for a lot, and we just instantly heal all of it. It's fantastic. So that's the play style. That is the build. I hope you guys enjoyed this build guide. Again, this build guide is overpowered at the end, but that's because Nightmare is about the journey getting to the end game, and having an overpowered build like this is your reward. That's your reward for doing all the content, beating Nightmare. Maybe you struggled a little bit against some of those early bosses. I will say, I feel like Nightmare is more difficult in the early game, and it actually becomes easier in the late game if you have a good build, right? Things aren't super tanky. I know there's reviews out there that go, oh man, Nightmare, if you play on Nightmare and then you get to the end of the game, everything is just so ridiculous tanky, it doesn't die. That is absolutely not true. If you have a good build, the end of the game was actually easier than the beginning of the game. Stuff dies faster at the end than it died at the beginning. So that just goes to show you what a fun, good build is. Anyways, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe if you're really enjoying these build guides. I'm going to keep trying to put more Veilguard build guides out before the release of Path of Exile 2 on December 6th. After that, we're going to be playing a lot of Path of Exile 2 with my other favorite game, Delta Force, that releases on December 5th. They release back to back, which hurts us a little bit. We're going to be posting guides out for Path of Exile 2, and hopefully they're going to be easy to understand guides for new players. And if you're a veteran player out there, they're going to be guides that you can almost use and maybe help me improve on. As a community, we can make these really great Path of Exile builds with all the veterans of Path of Exile, and then new players, hopefully the guide is understandable. Anyways, guys, now I'm just ranting and going on and on and on like normal. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and every day past this. I'm just Anthony, and I will see you next time. Peace.